Sure, and I do know, like the Bible would say, what, like he has like a skin of copper,
hair of wool, a skin of bronze, as if it burnt in the furnace, giving an emphasis on the darkness. And then that's in Revelation 1. It reemphasizes it in Revelation 2, and then in Revelation 4 it says God Himself looks like a jasper and a sardine stone. So anybody out there can Google jasper and sardine stones. They're dark brown natural stones that exist. So it's describing the Father, God Himself, and His Son as dark-skinned men.
Wait, sure, right? But do you feel like dark skin, like for example, right? When I think about black, right? Now we all have an origins back to Africa, but when I think about like skin of copper, I'm thinking about Habibi, right? Do we have historical proof that Jesus is black?
Yeah, certainly, and like you even said though, dealing with the natives, dealing with Arabs, you have a diversity amongst people. This idea that people, especially in Antigua, are just homogenous, that everybody just looked exactly the same. If you take a look at some of the oldest depictions of the Israelite people in Egypt, on the walls in Egypt, you see a diversity. You see people that look like me. You see people that look like you. You see people that look like you. But this is all looked at as the same group of people. Of course, because if you have a family that then grows into a nation, you have to use other people. You have to mingle with other people in order to procreate.
And do you, as a Pan-African, believe Jesus is black?
I believe that Jesus is an Arab person. I think he's a Palestinian Jewish person. I think he most likely looks like how those people look right now, like an Arab. I mean, if he even existed, I think that's how he would look. And the reason I think that is because there's just, when you look at the Bible and you even look at like the Israelites in Egypt, they could distinguish between an Israelite and an Egyptian, right? They say, oh, this person's an Israelite, this person is an Egyptian. If everybody looked the same, how would you even do that? How would you know just off a sight, oh, this person's one of the Hebrews, this person's one of the Egyptians? If these Hebrew people were black, I think that would have been, noted. And also when they left Egypt, what kept them from just assimilating into any of those places? Hey, we're all black, let's get together. I think that there were Arabs. I don't think the Arabs necessarily were the dominant group in that region at the time, and I think that that's probably one of the reasons why they went around fighting everybody. It was just like a kind of a foreign entity that had come into that region.
So can I get that? So that was very ignorant for you to say that. For you to say that because you said in the Bible they were able to distinguish Israelites and Egyptians. But Moses grew up with the Egyptians in the Bible and was considered an Egyptian, regarded as an Egyptian. So how can he be regarded as an Egyptian if he was distinguishably, noticeably different than the Egyptians? Additionally, if we go to the New Testament, Paul was called an Egyptian, which was a prominent Jew. So now if we have two different people who were indistinguishable, two of the most prominent Israelites in the Bible who were indistinguishable from the Egyptians, your entire point just fell apart.
Well, when you use the word regarded as a Egyptian, you wouldn't have to be regarded as an Egyptian if you looked like an Egyptian. Moses was the adopted son of Pharaoh, so he was given the same allowances and the status as a Egyptian.
But Moses grew up with the Egyptians in the Bible and was considered an Egyptian, regarded as an Egyptian. So how can he be regarded as an Egyptian if he was distinguishably, noticeably different than the Egyptians? Additionally, if we go to the New Testament, Paul was called an Egyptian, which was a prominent Jew. So now if we have two different people who were indistinguishable, two of the most prominent Israelites in the Bible who were indistinguishable from the Egyptians, your entire point just fell apart.
Well, when you use the word regarded as a Egyptian, you wouldn't have to be regarded as an Egyptian if you looked like an Egyptian. Moses was the adopted son of Pharaoh, so he was given the same allowances and the status as a Egyptian. But for that to have happened, if you adopt a kid that shows same color, you don't have to tell people, oh, that's my adopted. Just that's my son, and people take it at face value. But because there was a distinction between the way Moses looked and the way the typical Egyptian looked, it had to be noted that he was regarded as an Egyptian, so that people would know to give him the same respect as an Egyptian person of that rank.
It was not. It wasn't noted that it was regarded. What I'm saying by regarded is all stories about Moses up until the point where he leaves Pharaoh's house. He's an Egyptian, right? I can go before that. Let's go to Joseph, one of the 12 sons. When his brothers saw him, they thought that was an Egyptian. They didn't think that was their brother. They thought that was an Egyptian, right? So here we have, again, three of the most prominent Israelites in the whole Bible are all saw and believed to be Egyptians by the people that see them, right? So if they looked ethnically distinguishably different, then that wouldn't happen.
If they were if they were indistinguishable, right? You would not have to regard him as an Egyptian.
Okay, but respond to what I just said.
If you look white, I wouldn't have to regard you as a white person.
Because I already addressed that, right? And then I gave you additional information.
Right.
Joseph, when his brother saw him, they thought everybody thought there was it wasn't a regard. Okay. It was what they believed when they saw the individual.
Let me ask you a question.
No, you got to respond to that, Joseph. You got to respond to that.
I'm going to respond to that. First of all, Joseph was a servant in the house of Pharaoh. So
Joseph was the highest ranking.
Yeah, that's fine.
At that time, he was the highest ranking person in all of Egypt.
He was still a servant in the house of Pharaoh.
Not at the time when his brothers encountered him. What I'm referencing though. So if Egypt is a cultural hub,
yes,
how are the people homogenous, and then you're able to identify them exclusively? Because I didn't say why
if I took your brother away from you when he was 12, and you see him when he's 28, you might not recognize him.
No, I didn't say why didn't they recognize his brother.
That's exactly what you asked.
No, I said why didn't they recognize him ethnically? If there is a clear, distinguishable ethnic difference between these two groups of people, why did they think that when they saw him, they even referred to him as an Egyptian? They didn't say if there's a clear difference between these two groups of people and how they look, and it's observable with the naked eye, why did they look at him and say he was an Egyptian?
Because
that's what I'm asking you.
Egyptians came in different colors.
If they
all
came
Egyptians
and that debunks your premise. Thank you for debunking your own premise. Science has methodology, brother. So if you don't understand the scientific methodology, you're not even in a position to talk about what's been proven.
Why don't you just go get a DNA test and prove that you're Hebrew?
I've already done it.
I bet you it's going to be 0% Semitic blood.
Here's
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I don't know if I was going to get angry, a little disappointed, or I wanted to laugh. You know what I'm saying? These Pan-Africans, we're going to prove to you in this lesson that Pan-African is a joke. We had them come up visiting us quite a few times. And by the way, that Pan is a Greek god, by the way. Like Peter Pan, right? Pansexuals. You know what I'm saying. These Pan-Africans are no more funded. They're funded no more differently than like the Black Lives Matter. There was always groups of black fundamentalists, I guess, or black groups of nationalism who are always funded by white America, or in his case, Britain, right? We're going to get into that because when you look at the NAACP, when you look at the Black Panthers, even some Israelite groups, they're all funded, right? They're all funded. And when they're funded, they control the narrative of the agenda that they want to push. And this Pan-African started in West Africa, right? Some reason, ironically, where the Israelites were. So we're going to get in that in a second. Hold tight, because we're going to go into the Pan-Africanism, the garbage faith-based religion. They claim it's not a religion, but it absolutely is, right? And then we're also going to go into, I don't know if I'll go into that, but Steve Biko, or Biko, who also started later, 60 years later, the Black Conscience movement, who was also funded by the elitists, the Roman Catholics. He was a Roman Catholic. So what they did is they set these Christian-based, this Christian-based group, which was predominantly dominated by Christianity, right, to help convert other people, black people who was fighting against the system in peace. So they understand, because of the controversy, the fighting, and these men the Israelites didn't want to convert. So what they did is they funded these leaders and set them up and said, be peaceably. And then they gave them different religions. Okay. So we're going to go into Exodus 11:7 real quick before we get into everything else. Right. But against any of the children of Israel. By the way, this is a video from No Jumper. This is the Guerrilla Hebrew and the Pan-African. Right. I can't stand a damn Pan-African. This guy wants you to stay in white Christianity, right? So in his mind, if you're not a Pan-African, you must be a white Christian. So you can clearly see Pan-African is all about the uplifting of black people, but for whatever reason, they still want Jesus to be a white man. And here you got Grla Hebrew sitting right across from him, and they're going to say they look like those people in that land. Well, what do they look like? Grla Hebrew kind of looks like he could be them people over in that land. It's madness, man. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And it's crazy that this man said that, I guarantee you don't have .something% of DNA in you. See, this is why it's not good to debate these type of people. Deuteronomy 28:64 says, the Lord shall scatter thee from one end of the earth into the other, and thou shalt serve other gods. That's the madness. How is he going to tell Grla Hebrew that? That's insane. And I don't know if Grla Hebrew was just trying to bait him along and make it an interesting debate, because that could have been over a long time ago. I mean, a long time ago. But anyway, let's go here. Job 30:30, my skin is black upon me. We're going to prove also, according to the Bible and going to contextual understanding, that the Israelites is also black, right? So when you go into a 7-Eleven, and you'll see people just as dark as I am, if not even blacker. We got a couple of brothers dark. My own son in the camp, you got a couple of brothers who's very dark. And I've seen some goddamn Arabs darker than them. So he doesn't know history. He just thinks that everybody's in that land been there forever, since the ancient times. He doesn't understand where the real Egyptians are at. He doesn't understand the word Arab, which goes to mixture, a multitude of people. You got Ishmaelites, right, who over there, some of them look Hispanic, like Northern tribe, who are amongst them. So right now, it's not a skin color. It's the Israelites are mixed totally through these different nations. But back then, when you go into Joseph, what they also didn't mention is the brothers didn't recognize Joseph, but Joseph, if I'm not mistaken, when I read, he recognized them. So why would he recognize them as his brothers? And yet he goes into Egypt and he mixes right in with Egypt. So when you look at the differences between nations, it has nothing strictly to do with skin color. Like you got Manute Bol and Bobo, some of you are younger who follow basketball, Bobo, who is Manute Bol's son, the purple, dark, 7'7". So this also brings us to David and Goliath. They were both black, so-called black nations. But one had a distinction between the other, right? When you go to Shem, Ham, and Japheth, what did they look like? What did Lot look like? What did his children look like? It wasn't until Esau came on the scene that changed the color barrier to another degree. This man don't know what the hell he's talking about, man. So let's go over here and read a little bit. Henry Sylvester Williams, who started that, I'm not even going to read that. I'm going to go to this one, who so-called started the Pan-Africanism, right? It says in 1891, Williams moved to New York, where he worked as a public shoe cleaner. Later studied, and this is what this guy is following. He's following, when you're Pan-African, you're following this public shoe cleaner, right? Who also, well, we're going to keep reading. Who later he studied the law in Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, but left before graduating in 1896. He traveled to England and entered the King's College to help far for his education. Williams, he lectured to the Church of England Temperance, Society of National Thrift Society. While in London, Williams met and married Agnes Powell, a member of the Temperance Society, right? Her father, Captain Francis Powell, objected to the wedding and refused to meet Williams over the next few years. They had 5 children. So anyway, he was getting busy. So, you know, when you really look at this, it wasn't just Sylvester Williams. It was various others that kind of linked in with it. So as I said, whenever these groups start, they always get funded, right? And this is what I looked up, right? This is what I looked up. I just asked the question. Because what I did was I read when he went to the something Associate Society. Right here it says William became increasingly interested in politics, and in 1897 established the African Association, right? The African Association Society. The following year, he issued a statement calling the conference in order to take steps to influence the public opinion to existing proceeding and conditions affecting the welfare of the natives of various parts of the empire. So I went to take a look at that, right? It says multiple organizations, the name of the African Association had been funded by a variety of sources, including the British government. You know, now when you go back in the time of the 1800s with the abolitionists, so-called free slavery, that was the time of re-education. That was the time that they did re-education. And I'll prove that through Google. This is the AI, right? Let's see. I typed in, I did this the other day. Who brought monogamy, right, to Africa? Christian missionaries brought the idea of monogamy to Africa, especially in areas that were traditionally polygamous. So what religion and what belief were we following? And this is why Christians say we needed to be re-educated. So anybody who followed Christianity, right, and I believe the Pan-Africans believe that as well. I'm not sure. It says the struggle over polygamy led to heated debates between missionaries in Africa. You get the point, right? And it was all political. So you get the point. They didn't want us populating. It says they were European colonizers, right? And this is what European colonization does. They replace the theology, you know, whatever you had, whatever you believed, they switch it. So how can you believe anything that was based off of that kind of tradition? Right? So this man believes that the one you call Jesus was so-called white. Now, we can go to Revelation 1 and 13. You all know that. His head and his hairs were white. It'll say burnished bronze in different translation. White like wool, meaning explaining the texture and the color. His feet was like undefined brass, which actually goes to burnished brass, okay? And I just happened to type in burnished bronze color, and this is what you get. This is what you get. I have no idea what that is, but everybody has an interpretation. But you can clearly see the majority of what burnished bronze look like. Look at this truck here. You can clearly see, look at that, burnished bronze. Right. So when you see fine brass, again, translations out of Old English, fine brass is actually burnished brass. So when you see burnished brass, then it says as if they burned in a furnace, as his feet burned in a furnace. Now, when we go to let me go there real quick. Well, it's not pulling up for me, but I go into the older Bibles, like the John Wycliffe. Oh, here we go. Let's go to the Bible. I like going to this Bible. I hope it pulls up. Computer's slow. But you'll see what it shows in the book of Revelation. I think this site gets really slow. I think it's my computer. This site slows down and sometimes it crashes. I've sent it to brothers and it just don't work sometimes. Anyway, maybe there's a reason for that. Revelations 1 and 15. And his feet was like unto lantern, as in a burnished chimney, right? So when you look at lantern, which is dark, and a burnished chimney, which is very black, it's telling you that, right? It's just that simple. And it's a shame that white people come up to us at camp and they know this. And this is why we had a Pan-African come up. You can't teach them nothing. But now we got a lot of history on Pan-Africanism, man. It is a garbage belief and a garbage religion, right? And it does nothing to uplift so-called black people. And this is why they pay these guys to keep you. They don't mind you being African. They don't mind you being Cain, Canaanites. You notice these elites they put in the movie, if the guy is crazy like Minister Society, they call him Cain. Cain. It's always Cain. Because they want that birthright. But they get that what they're not understanding is you can't stop what's happening. Right? We are waking up. And now they're going through the Pan-Africanists now? Yeah. Good luck with that. That's not going to hold up. Okay, so let's go to Numbers 25 and 11. Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, right, turn away my wrath from the sons of Israel, and that he is jealous with jealousy among them, so that I did not destroy the sons of Israel in my jealousy. So this is Phinehas. When we look up Phinehas, right, this is real easy. It says likely of Egyptian origin, meaning the Nubian. What does the Nubian mean? I actually didn't look this up. I know it means dark or black. But let's see what that means, just for the sake of the video. Pertaining to belong to Nubia, medieval times, Nubia, Eastern Nubian, slave, Egypt. There we go. Region of Africa, south of Egypt. Now, let's say they say, okay, the Egyptians. Well, we do know Greeks had the influence of Egypt out of Alexandria's conquest, as they say, Ptolemy, Soter, around 323 CE, I think. Could be wrong, but at the end of the day, let's continue with what it says. What it says, right? It says Phinehas, in Hebrew name, however, the name appears Greek in the Greek Septuagint, but it says here likely Egyptian, of Egyptian origin, possibly meaning, they're saying possibly. I looked in the Oxford Dictionary, exactly what it means. It means actually the mouth of brass, possibly meaning Nubian or dark skin. Nubian or dark skin. Yeah. Let's go ahead and look in the blue letter since they don't believe me. Phinehas, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest. Let's see what Phinehas has to say in this text. Same thing. Okay, mouth of brass. Yep, the priest of the priest of Elah. Okay, let's see what it says. Down here, it says apparently 861:33. Phinehas of the three Israelites of Phinehas, doesn't say here. It normally says it in most of them. I don't know why it doesn't say it here. Actually, it does. I didn't go down enough. In the Strong's 863:17, it says Egyptian, the Negro. The Negro. How much more proof do you need than that? We don't have to give you any more proof. How much more proof do you need than that? The Negro. That's all I have on that. Shalom.